So your event last night was good?
It was wonderful. I'll post more pictures about it. It was a lot of fun. Smokey and the band, it was great. I had no idea that Donna was going to call me up to speak and say something about it. But yeah, I mean, they have the car there that both Sally and Bert signed. And it was fun. The owner of the car flew in from Hawaii just for the event. And yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And why were you invited to a Smokey and the Bandit event? Just, I'm not sure I put the A to the B. I wasn't clear on
And
that.
why were you asked to get up and speak about it and talk to everybody? Those were the questions of the evening, but I'm glad I did because we had a lot of fun. I don't want to keep my good buddy Michael waiting anymore because he's such a fun guy and he has a lot to tell. And you can tell he has a lot to tell because I think he's just written like 5 books. And yeah, I mean, it took me long enough to come up with my one. But anyway, I think, have we taken care of all the, I'm already back in a good mood talking to the darlings and dudes and you, Ginger. Thank you very much.
Well, we try.
Even though I'm down to drinking water now.
Hugs all the time because we absolutely adore you, Darby. We don't like you sad. We like you happy and ready to hug us.
You know, when I sat down, like, okay, I got to keep it up. And, you know, and everything I thought about had a little, and the first Thursday when I did it, 2 Thursdays ago, right afterwards is when it really hit me. The COVID really hit me, knocked me out. And then I was feeling better for the last little quick Thursday check-in was okay. And then boom, it hit me again. So tomorrow is going to be much better.
He wouldn't let me check in with him so we could avoid talking about the unavoidable of the Oscars.
I know. I started to say something. You're just like, oh, well, you could talk about the Oscars. You just won't mention the slap.
We could have talked about anyway, doesn't matter. We're not talking about that this week.
Unfortunately, with behavior like that, that's all you can talk about, and even he recognized. All right, let's go. Michael, right. Let's bring on Michael.
Ladies and gentlemen, we present to you Michael Dante.
Hi, Darby. Hi, Ginger. Hey, you guys, well, you work so well together. I really like the humor and the laid-back attitude and so forth. And I love the coon hat on Ginger. And
all right. Just for you.
Harvey, we're doing Daniel Boone. Daniel Boone.
There we go.
There it is. That's what I remember. Yeah. No, your head's gotten a little bigger. You used to fit much better when you were a kid, you know. But it was a lot of fun in those days. I remember he was a cute kid with a lot of talent and was an intricate part with a wonderful guy that I really got to know very well, Fess Parker. The two of them worked very well, father and son, and it was a joy to work the show. It was something that, you know, I could relate to and fantasize what I always had to do when I was growing up when we played cowboys and Indians. Now, the guys that I grew up with, everybody wanted to play the cowboy. Now, I wanted to keep everything going and have fun. They said, all right, you guys, you play the cowboy, you play Jake, you play Jim, you play Jack. I'll play the Indian. Okay, so we can keep the dramatics going. So it's wonderful to look back and think when I was your age, gosh, it was every day was cops and robbers or cowboys and Indians. So Darby, yeah, you brought a lot of memories when we did the show, and I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Well, you know, that's one of the times that we reconnected was when I was helping put together Bill Tillman and the Outlaws. And one of the characters we had sitting on the bench, we thought originally it'd be great to have an Indian there. And of course, I immediately thought of you and called up because let's just say, and we'll talk about Winter Hawk too, but Winter Hawk was such a classic movie and you did such a fabulous part in that. And so I remember calling you up, Michael, hey, you want to come out and have some fun, and you were very straightforward and, thank you, Darby, but are you sure? Because in these times, you can't play an Indian because I don't think there's really much Indian blood in you.
No, you're right about that, because nowadays you have to be an Indian to play an Indian, be Polish to play Polish, Oriental, and so forth, and so on. Which I think it has its pluses and minuses, for the simple reason to give the opportunities, and particularly Native Americans. The Native Americans have come a long way. They have some outstanding actors and actresses nowadays that you could cast in a movie and depend upon them to do an excellent job. But years ago, they didn't have the facilities and the training. So American actors that had a special look about them and desire to play a noble Native American and so forth. So it's good to see progress, but it does hinder somewhat the creativity in our business to be politically correct,
Well, and also, Michael, I mean, you and I both did Days of Our Lives. And, I turned into the Salem rapist. Thank God I didn't have to be a real rapist to go play that part.
Yeah. And,
I mean, there is such a thing as acting.
Acting, that's the wonderful part about my life, and I could share with you both and your audience, is that I chose to create and invent. When I started out in life, I was a professional baseball player. I was a bonus ball player, signed by the Boston Braves. I was the most valuable player in all of New England in the New England Newspaper League. And I signed at that time for $6,000 bonus. Now, if you signed for $6,000, you couldn't get a penny over $6,000. If you did, you had to spend 2 years in the big leagues on the bench. So they were going to put a 17, 18-year-old kid on the bench. So I signed for the maximum of $6,000. Now, with that $6,000, my dad was in the produce business, and we traveled in a truck. We didn't have a car. And I had 3 sisters and a brother. So five of us children and mom and dad, there was 7 people to transport. Now, we didn't have a car, so we had to jump in the truck whenever we went to socialize or go to a restaurant or visit the many, many, many relatives I had. I was able to, with that $6,000, buy our family our first automobile, a 4-door Buick, white wall tires, radio heater. It was the most beautiful thing you ever seen in your life. What do you think give me a rough estimate of what I paid for that automobile, 1949.
$6,000.
How about $2,300?
Oh my gosh.
New and looked like $1 million. And speaking of $1 million, I often said to my mom, God rest her soul, I said, Mom, you should have waited a while, because the $6,000 I received as a bonus from the Braves when they signed me, today would be worth, I would say, a minimum of $4, $5, $6 million in today's market. So I said, Mom, you brought me out into this world a little too soon. But of course, that's
all right. So you go from baseball to acting in Hollywood. How does that happen?
Yeah, I made the transition. I had a shoulder injury, and that's, in those days, they knew very little about kinesiology.
Having and all that.
It's injury. So my doctor said, after I had surgery, he said, you've got to go somewhere it's warm, and I'll dictate to you along the way when you can start throwing and doing the exercises you need to get back to normal. So I said, he said, you got to go where it's warm. So I said, gee, I've got it all picked out. University of Miami of Florida, where weather is the greatest. I went there and I said, I want to study. My second love is acting, and I want to take a drama course there. And he said, fine, great. We'll be in touch. Don't worry about it. Everything's going to work out. So when I lived and attended the first semester, that was in the autumn of 1955, autumn of 54, I'm sorry, autumn of 54. My roommate was Mickey McDermott, the great left-hander, played with the Red Sox, Yankees, and the Washington Senators and St. Louis Cardinals. Well, he got a phone call from Tommy Dorsey. He called Mickey. He said, Mickey, he loved baseball. He said, Mickey, Tino Barzi, my manager, and I want to take you to dinner. We want to talk baseball. We got a night off. He was doing one-nighters up and down the east and west coast of Florida. And Mickey said, okay, great. He said, do you mind if my buddy, my roommate, he's going to the big leagues with us with the Washington Senators. He's a hell of a ball player, and he's studying drama at Miami. And Tommy said, oh, yeah, oh, good. It's good to be talking to some ball players that are reading books. So anyway, we got to the chase. I met Tommy, and later on, he said we had a great evening. He said, look, you're a great looking guy, you're tall. He said, you got a great speaking voice and so forth, and a presence about you. He said, I'll be doing one-nighters again here in February. Well, February was just before I'm going to spring training and achieve my boyhood dream to go to the big leagues with Washington Senators in Orlando, Florida. Well, true to his word, Tommy came through again. He called and couldn't get a hold of Mickey. So he asked, and I've got to tell you this because it's so dramatic. I was walking out the door. I lived off campus. It was an old Spanish building. And I'm just about to close the door. And it was about an inch more and I would have closed the door. The phone rang and I had props in my arms. I was doing Golden Boy. I was going to a dress rehearsal. The phone rang and I said, oh no, God. Well, if I don't answer, I have 3 sisters, a brother, mom and dad, and 15 aunts and uncles. So I pushed open the door, threw the props on the couch. Now the other end was, hey, pal, this is TD. I said, hey, TD, sure, of course. Now, that call was like Jackie Gleason. Remember Jackie Gleason? On the show of Jackie Gleason, they talked and he would talk on the side of his mouth, hey, pal. Well, Tommy Dorsey did the Nestle show with Jackie Gleason and the All American show. So they were like family. It was a group of actors and actresses that if you were part of their family, you were blessed because they were so talented and wonderful people. So when he addressed me that way, I knew I was in with the crowd. So anyway, I said, Tom, I can't do it. I'm doing a dress rehearsal. I'll meet you later for coffee. Well, he said, no. We'll have a late dinner. Leave Tino and I a pass, and we'll join you backstage. Then we'll go to dinner. I couldn't believe it. I said, Tommy Dorsey is going to wait and have a late dinner with me. And I couldn't believe it. It was flabbergasted. Anyway, he said, leave a pass, whatever I need to get in. True to his word, he met me backstage. We went to dinner. Couldn't find Mickey that night. He was out doing something. So the three of us had dinner, and he said, and Tommy was a nonsense guy, very serious, a great leader. And he pointed his finger at me. He said, look, I'm only going to tell you this once. He said, you have it to be a movie star. You have a great presence about you. He said, a great voice. He said, when you learn the acting profession in front of the camera, you're going to be fine. And he said, let me tell you, if your arm doesn't respond, or if you take a leave of absence, I want to arrange a screen test for you in Hollywood at MGM. He said, I was under contract there a lot of years. I know a lot of people, and I could arrange a screen test for you. He said, only once I'll tell you this. I've helped a lot of people. One guy in particular, he did okay. His name was Frank Sinatra. So I said, Tommy.
I heard of him.
Yeah,
I heard, yeah, I remember that.
He said, I know you do, but you have to make the decision. I'm going to leave my itinerary with you. I'll be calling for your progress report. And you join us when we do the home show at the Pan Pacific Auditorium. We'll be there for 2 weeks. Cut to the chase. I joined Tommy. Tommy arranged a screen test for me out at MGM Studios. MGM signed me to a contract after taking a 2 weeks leave of absence for the club. They signed me to a contract, and I never went back to baseball. That's how I got started in the business. Tommy Dorsey. And I spent a year on the contract at MGM, on the contract at Warner Brothers and 20th Century Fox. I had a 5-picture deal with 20th Century Fox, starting with Seven Thieves. I did with the great Eddie G. Robinson, Rod Steiger, Joan Collins.
Now, how many, besides Winterhawk, how many Indians did you play?
Only about 3 or 4, about 4. I played Winterhawk. I played Crazy Horse in the series Custer. That's how I got the job for the title role in Winterhawk. Charles B. Pierce, the writer-director of the movie, saw me do Custer. He said, that's the guy I want for Winterhawk. I played Red Hawk in Apache Rifles with Audie Murphy. I did 2 with Audie Murphy. First with Apache Rifles, and then co-started again with him in Arizona Raiders. I played another Native American in
Daniel Boone?
Yeah, Death Valley Days and Daniel Boone. Death Valley Days was at that time was the host was Robert Taylor. I did 2 shows with Robert Taylor.
I got to do one of those too.
Wonderful actor.
We did a lot of the same shows, but this is the only time our paths actually crossed on screen. And when's the last time you've seen this episode?
Which one?
The one we're going to air tonight, the Daniel Boone
Oh,
episode.
the Daniel Boone one. I thought you were talking about the other Native American roles. The Daniel Boone one, I hadn't seen in I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
Oh,
And I'm looking
There you
forward to seeing it again.
I think more recent than me. So Ginger has a great treat for us.
Yeah, and I have a great story in there where I literally saved my life and Darby's life.
And that's a great
It's
teaser.
very normal.
I think we should talk. We'll come back in the middle of it. Ginger has the breakdown, but we'll come back in the middle of it. We'll talk about the scenes we did, because I don't know exactly where that scene pops up, but it'll be fun to talk about.
Okay, I look forward to it.
Should we go ahead and get started then?
I think so.
Okay, so good evening to everybody. If we have some new people here tonight, Make sure that you are putting your questions for Michael and Darby in our Q&A because we don't check the chat as far as the questions. Little bit about this episode. Daniel Boone, the name of the episode is For a Few Rifles. Its original air date was April 10th, 1969. So over 50 years ago. The director was John Newland, whose name you would recognize because he also directed Tanner, which is another one of Darby's favorites and features him heavily. The writer was actually a female, Judith Barrows, and she had done 7 Daniel Boone episodes, not any that we've watched together. This episode, of course, includes special guest Michael Dante as Akari. Some of you might recognize him. He was also in a Bonanza episode called The Brass Box. I have to throw that in there, Michael, because I'm a Bonanza fan. And the young man that's
I
in this,
stole
believe it or not,
Ginger over from Bonanza. Bonanza's her real passion.
steal me over.
I've been slowly getting her to watch these shows so that maybe, we'll get her to be a Boone fan too.
Well, ironically, the young man that plays the other Indian boy is named Donald Loseby, and he's in a Bonanza episode called The Jackknife. So, and we always wondered what happened to him, but he's also in this episode as well. So this first segment is actually 1943. I'm going to combine the first and second segment. So about 9:25 in, you'll see it dip to black and come back. So Michael, the way we do it is we just turn off our cameras and our microphones. And then when you see Darby and I pop back on, I'm sure we'll call to you if you're not there. And it'll be easy when you come back,
All right, Michael, enjoy the show.
Yep. So we're deeply grateful to have you here, Michael, and enjoy For a Few Rifles. We'll see you in about 20 minutes.
I look forward to it.
Mr. Boone, my name is Burns. It's a pleasure meeting you, sir. I've been looking forward to this since the day we started.
The pleasure's all mine. Boonesboro can always use a few more settlers.
Well, we didn't come to settle here, sir. We just stopped by to see if you could be persuaded to guide us to some land we purchased from the government. It's a few leagues north of here.
Well, if you don't mind, I think we better find a seat over here and talk this over.
Hey, whatever you say.
I'm sorry to tell you this, Mr. Burns, but you can't take women and children into this country.
And why not?
Well, I suspect you'd all be massacred.
I'm afraid you're mistaken, Mr. Boone. The government land agency assured me the land was purchased from the Indians. A treaty had been signed.
I'm sure it was.
Well, then?
Well, I know it's confusing, but you see, Indians don't own land the way we do. And what probably happened is some Cherokees in the south or some Shawnees in the north probably did sign a treaty to a couple of 100 miles of land they don't even own.
Are you trying to tell me we don't own the land we purchased?
I'm trying to tell you it doesn't matter whether you own it or not. Chief Umaka's not going to let you settle there.
Well, Chief Umaka.
Yes, he lives about here between the two rivers. And he's never signed a treaty, and he never will. Experienced trappers avoid the area. I'm sorry, there's plenty of good land to the south.
Let me ask you a question, Boone. Weren't there Indians here when you first came?
Yes.
Then I'm sure we shall do as well. After all, it's hard to imagine one group of Indians being any more terrifying than the next. And the men of my party are very well armed. Now, will you be guiding us?
Would you have any objections to taking a few precautions?
Mr. Boone, I am not a fool. I have no intention of marching into Indian country with flags waving and drums beating.
But you would march in with women and children?
Aye, that I will do.
All right. I'll compromise with you.
Explain yourself.
I'll take you into Chief Umaka's country. Just you. Alone.
But I fail to see what purpose that would serve.
Well, at least it'll give you a chance to see what you're getting into. And it just might save a few lives.
That is very well put, Mr. Boone. All right, we'll do it. You and I. We'll go and see what this Chief Wamaka has to say for himself.
Daniel Boone was a man, yes, a big man, with an eye like an eagle and as tall as a mountain was he. Daniel Boone was a man, yes, a big man. He was brave, he was fearless, and as tough as a mighty oak tree. From the coonskin cap on the top of old Dan to the heel of his rawhide shoe, the rippinest, roaringest, fightingest man the frontier ever knew. Daniel Boone was a man, yes, a big man, and he fought for America to make all Americans free. What a Boone wanted to do and what a dream come true was he.
Burns, you ever fought Indians?
No, I never have.
Good morning, Wamaka.
Good morning, Daniel Boone.
Wamaka, this is James Burns. He's the chief of a group of white settlers.
What does he want?
He wants to bring his settlers to live between the two rivers. They're farmers and come in peace.
No.
Would you be looking at this, Mr. Chief? So much for your great Chief Wamaka. I tell you, Boone, these people are like children. You give them... Hey, what do you think you're doing?
Your people must be very poor.
What are you saying? These are first quality goods.
You want to bring your people to my land?
Aye.
When you bring me 20 rifles like that one, my council will agree to what you want.
There'll be no rifles, Wamaka.
I know you will say so.
Why don't you have your council come and look at these goods? They're all prime.
You will not speak to me of rifles? I will speak to my council.
Perhaps you have time to waste, Mr. Boone. I have not.
Burns,
The silly peacock wants a few rifles. Why not give them to him and have it over with?
I hope you're joking.
I most certainly am not. I've got 15 families sitting there in Boonesboro watching their plowing season go by. Now, considering that, what's the price of a few rifles?
Burns, you give Wamaka's braves 20 rifles, there won't be a live settler, man, woman, and child within 100 miles.
You might frighten some women and children with that kind of talk. But I've seen your dangerous Chief Wamaka now. I must tell you, I'm not too impressed.
No rifles, No land.
Well, suit yourself, Chief. You know, asking your permission was merely a courtesy to you. Now my people will just move onto the land without permission. What do you say to that?
Tell them to turn her loose.
Oh, Dan, they've got him. They've got Israel.
Where is he?
I think you will bring me 20 rifles, Daniel Boone. To this place before one moon.
No, wait. Wait!
Stay where you are.
Boone, you're not going to let him just get away with this. For the sake of heaven, man, it's your son.
I begin to think white men are fools.
You listen to me, you ignorant savage.
The reason he called you a fool, Burns, is because he thinks you ought to know that right now there's an arrow pointed at your heart. And there's one pointed at mine and one at Rebecca's. And if we make one wrong move, there'll be one for Israel, too. Now, you just climb back up on that wagon.
Sure would be nice to have a fire.
And maybe beat a big drum, too, huh? Boom, boom, boom. A smart boy. I like you. Here, drink. You want to be even more smart? You forget about your father for now. You will not see him for one moon.
You don't know my pa.
Your father. He is the most smart man of all. Huh? But sometimes he needs a little help.
I don't know what you're talking about. What's supposed to happen in one moon anyway?
You understand what trading is?
Uh-huh. It's when you got something I want, I got something you want, we swap them.
That is what will happen in one moon.
You mean you're gonna trade me?
Yes. Chief Wamaka will.
To my pa?
Yes.
You can't do that. I already belong to him.
Not now.
That's not trading, that's just plain stealing. Pa says the most important part of trading is the golden rule.
What is that?
Do unto others as you would have others do unto you.
Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. A very wise rule.
Maybe you should tell it to Chief Wamaka. Maybe he doesn't know it either.
Chief Wamaka is busy waiting for his 20 rifles.
Is that what you're gonna trade me for? Rifles? My pa wouldn't give Chief Wamaka rifles.
What about his golden rule?
What do you mean?
Your father. He has a rifle, huh?
Best in Kentucky.
But Chief Wamaka, he has none.
But
This look like the place? Becky?
No, I think it's a bit further towards Boonesboro. A mile or so. Oh, Dan, I can't be sure.
All right, Burns, let's go.
Hey, huh? I'll be glad to repeat my offer, Mr. Boone.
I appreciate that, Mr. Burns. I told you that before, but I'd appreciate it even more if you'd do what I ask you. Giving Wamaka rifles isn't the answer. Take your party into the valley to the south. We've got a treaty with the tribes there. There are other settlers there, and they're doing fine.
Ah, that's just it. There are other settlers there.
What is it you're looking for? Farmland or a personal kingdom?
You needn't have said that. Strikes me I could be asking you the same question. It's all too apparent the great Daniel Boone, the great Indian expert, is so disturbed at the prospect of losing face before a few scraggly savages that he's ready and willing to gamble with the life of his own son.
I wouldn't say anything more, Mr. Burns.
Mrs. Boone, it's out of compassion for you that I made my offer. If your husband's such a kind-hearted man, why doesn't he discuss the matter with you? Where's his concern for your feelings?
What do you say, Rebecca? Do you want to take Mr. Burns up on his very kind offer?
Yes, Daniel, I would. Nothing would make me happier than to accept your offer, Mr. Burns. If I had my way, I'd rush back to Boonesboro and collect those rifles, and I'd give them to Wamaka. I'd give Wamaka his rifles. I'd give him anything to get my son back home, safe in his own bed. But then I don't have that right, do I?
Well, I'd say that you do, Mrs. Boone. I'd say you have every right.
You mean I have the right to sacrifice your children in exchange for my child's life?
I'm afraid I don't quite understand what you mean by that.
What she means, Mr. Burns, is that she's seen a settlement after a massacre. She knows what your settlement would look like.
Well, perhaps I'm wrong. Let's say that I am. I still don't understand what's so different about Wamaka. He's an Indian. There are Indians to the south. In this valley you keep harping about.
He's smarter than most. He knows that he's fighting for his life.
You sound almost as if you got sympathy for him.
Well, I can put myself in his shoes, Mr. Burns. He knows in a few years his land will be covered by settlers, and he's vowed that'll never happen while he's still alive. That makes him dangerous. Too dangerous to put rifles into his hands.
Well, you may be right. I don't know. Maybe we should go south, after all.
There's good land there, Mr. Burns. You won't be sorry.
Dan, there, I think that's it.
Whoa!
Was there only one brave with Israel?
The other two called him Akari.
I want you to stay with Cincinnatus until I get back.
Dan, do you have any idea where they took him?
No, Becky, but don't worry, I'll find him.
Maybe you know your father best. Maybe he will try to follow.
Look out, there he is! What are you doing?
Perhaps your father will remember to bring your fine cap along with Wamaka's rifles. Come.
Oh, wait a minute. Where's the cap? There we go. We got to put them on.
Hey, that was the appropriate cap for tonight, Darby.
Oh my goodness. You know, when you talked about it, I wasn't, and now I totally remember the whole canoe scenes and everything. Oh my goodness.
I'm guessing that the part hasn't come up yet that you were telling me about earlier, Michael, about the
That's the dramatic scene. That really was something. It was dramatic filming and in reality. So we had. I think the audience are going to get a kick out of the truth and the reality of what happens that follows that scene. Just paddling the canoe. Yeah, I'll tell you the whole story. What was going on at the time and what was so important to the scene. I won't give it away now. We'll wait until we get to that scene.
Well, you might want to give it away now because it's going to be like 30 minutes in the end of the show before we come back.
I did notice, not to be critical of Daniel Boone, and I think it might have been a very good thing. I did notice my hands went from being tied behind my back to being able to sit in front of me in the canoe.
That's the script clerk. Script clerk, that's her fault, or his fault. What, Ginger, did you want me to tell you what happened?
I think go ahead and tell us now so we'll be ready because I'm guessing it's coming up.
Okay, what happened was he makes his way to the canoe while I'm doing something off to the side to deter Daniel Boone from following us and so forth and overtaking us. So he jumps in the canoe and starts paddling away and so forth. Well, I see that he's done that. I dive into the water. Now, I check with the stunt coordinator. Prior to the shot, he rowed around in a rowboat and checked the water for any hazards, boulders that might be underneath, or any logs that our skins may get caught on. And he put his arm. I watched him like a hawk. He put his arm down into the water to about up to here. Okay, that was about 12, 16 inches down, and it was extremely hot. It was around in the 90 to 100 degrees. So that still water was very hot, 12 to 16, 18 the most inches down into the water. he didn't go into the water to check it. So he said, you okay? I said, yeah, are you okay with it? He said, fine, it's warm, so forth. I said, okay, all right. To the scene, camera, action. Darby takes off with the canoe and he's getting away, and I panic, run after him, jump into the water, and I dive into the water. I go below that inches, 16, 18 inches of water, and it was freezing cold. Still water runs deep, and he did not check it beyond the surface where it would be warm. And of course, knowing that below that height, it's very cold. And oh God, when I came up, I literally couldn't catch my breath. It was one of these, if you don't mind. And I just talked to myself, calm down, calm down.
Well, that is a good Indian chant, I must say.
and I just said to myself, you're not going to do this scene again. But you're a pro.
Get it together, huh?
You're a pro, and you know what you got to do. You got to do what the scene calls for, and make sure, because the camera is on shore, and I have to, for the scene to work properly, because it's all done in the master shop, I know that I have to get by the camera lens to make the camera, to make the shot work, okay? So thank God for my experience. I knew what I had to do. So I caught my breath. Now I got to go and turn over the canoe and prevent him from going any further. So Darby had no idea about the water like I did. So I turned the canoe over, down he goes, and Darby comes up, the same reaction. Oh, 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 oh. And I knew enough. I turned my back to the camera that way, and I said, I got you. Okay, Darby, I got you. Okay, don't worry. Okay. So I held him by the back of his wardrobe and started treading water to get to shore. Now the shore is not 20 feet. Shore is about 20, 30 yards. So I'm going for my life. For one, I got here, I got Darby here with on one hand, and then I'm just treading water. And you know, when you wear skins, we both had skins on, and those skins, the moment they get soaked, you put on about 10 pounds or more. So the skins were heavy, and Darby's, and I'm treading water, and I'm saying, oh God, give me the strength, a little more, more and more. And now we're getting close to the shore, and I know I could step down and touch ground. So we get to where it's shallow, but in that shallow area, there are these rocks that are covered with moss. They're slippery as butter on a hot roll. It's just unbelievable. I took one step and I slipped, and I'm dragging. I'm dragging, have to drag Darby to the shore and get by camera. So I'm just a couple of feet more, and I slip again on those slippery rocks. And finally, with all my might, I pulled Darby and pulled myself and got just behind the camera. And everybody yelled, "Yay! Oh, great cut print!" And nobody.
Yeah, you didn't kill the kid. Yeah.
Thank God.
And what was interesting, Darby's lovely mom, God rest her soul, was a beautiful lady. She was so nice and so concerned, and was just heroically standing by the camera, realized, as everyone else was praying, that we're going to be okay. And Darby ran into her arms and Mama, 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 Michael saved my life. He saved my life. And they whisked them all to the dressing room, threw a blanket around Darby, and Mom and Darby walked to the dressing room, assisted by the assistant director. And they brought a blanket. Somebody threw a blanket around me and so forth. Said, "Oh, are you okay?" And just then somebody brought a little shot of whiskey or something. Said, here, take this.
The good old days.
I should have hung out on the set.
Right?
That would have been better.
Surprised they weren't giving it to you too, Darby.
I don't think it'll help Darby, but it might help me.
Wouldn't have hurt. Wouldn't have hurt. Well, the one good thing is they didn't come back and go, "That was great. Now let's just do it one more time."
You do it more with more feeling this time. I just don't.
Oh, I don't know.
You
if
remember
I've
that,
seen it.
Darby? You don't remember that?
It brings back. That's why I love these shows.
Maybe
It
once
brings
you
back
see it,
such
you'll be
memories
like,
seeing
oh,
it.
yeah. Michael,
I do
somebody
like it.
asked, I did have a question. Ellen wanted to know, Michael, were you wearing real moccasins when you were running up the rocks, when you ran up the rocks to,
Yes, so they were authentic
Yeah.
moccasins. Had a little sole underneath, They weren't just skin to my skin, but they had a sole underneath. And yeah, I liked it because I could run. I had a lot of speed in my youth. And
We were bouncing over those rocks pretty good.
it was fun. Yeah, bouncing on top of the rock. But it didn't hurt my feet at all.
I do remember that Malibu Creek could be cold. I'm glad you said at least it was hot outside,
Yeah.
because the way they would shoot, I know a lot of times we would shoot the winter scenes in the summer. So you'd have the long johns on, the shirt, the jacket, the everything looking like you're supposed to be cold.
Yeah.
And then the sun, right. I noticed you're right in the, are you sure it was hot? Because it looked like Fess when he was in the wagon that there was steam coming out of his mouth and it was cold.
They were both smoking a little cloud of air.
Might have been cold. Because
Strange.
I remember it was always opposite. Like when it would be really hot at the ranch, okay, I'll jump in the water now. Oh, no. We save those for the winter time when it's really cold.
Yeah. Well, do you remember it in detail? Do you remember it visually at all, Darb?
I got to watch the rest of this. When I was in the boat and you were maneuvering it between the rocks, I remembered that. That came back to me very well, and getting in the boat and stuff. I might have blocked the tipping out and being dragged across the rocks. We'll check in at the end of this and see if I remember.
I'll tip you over, and you take a good dive into that water, and you might have sense memory and feel a little chill when you.
And I bet they didn't even give us a stunt bump.
so where was this shot? You're saying this was at Malibu Ranch? Is that where you said this was?
Yeah, this is Malibu State Creek Park now.
Because there's some huge rocks there and stuff. I guess I didn't figure that to be.
20th Century Fox Ranch, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, I met a wonderful historian last night that was talking about the ranch, and I had a great talk with him. And they're talking about, if you saw that picture I posted of Johnny Crawford, where he went back to the Fox Ranch and took some very recognizable rocks, a picture in front of it again, because the original one they shot, McCain, the rifleman, the original house they had at the Fox Ranch, but then they moved out before Boonesboro moved in. Long story. But yeah, it's great history there. I mean, MASH, Planet of the Apes, all the Fox things shot out there.
The film practically all the exteriors there on the 20th Century lot, sure. backlot. That was out in Malibu, way back in the boondocks in those days. And you went down to, well, I went to work. I went down to
ECH?
yeah, the freeway, and it was just opened up in those days. There wasn't the traffic jam like you have today. And that was a good drive. It would take me I had a home in Encino at the time, so it was a little shorter for me. It took me a good half hour, 40 minutes to get there. So it was a nice drive, and weren't too many cars there and so forth. But
And you could also come around and you could go up PCH along the ocean, Pacific Coast Highway.
That's
and
right.
get to, which is a beautiful one.
Malibu, and going across to Malibu and to the ocean on the Coast Highway.
Yep.
Beautiful
Nice.
country. All of that developed into beautiful homes later on. And of
The
course,
last, I don't know if it was the last 2 seasons or the last season, my mom started getting a little beach house right on the beach because it was so close to the lot, instead of, because we would have to drive to 20th before we got into that. Remember the big stretch limousines with 3 or 4 doors on either side? And that's what they take us out in. But we had to, drive a half hour, 45 minutes into town, get in a car, and then drive the, hour something back out to the location. So she would just get a house in Malibu that was close, and then we could just pop over to the ranch.
Just drive over. Sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
Too bad
So
we
I-
didn't buy 1 or 2 of those houses in Malibu. That would have been a good little investment.
Oh, you would have been a rich little kid. Yeah.
Would have been set. So I have a question for Michael. So was that when you take off Darby's hat and you rub his already unruly hair?
Yeah.
Kind of the same barber back
Was
then,
that ad
too,
lib,
wasn't it?
or was that in the script?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I think you had lived it.
I was gonna say, you look like you're having a good time just rub.
Because what I enjoyed about this character was that very few Indians you've seen on the screen. I mean, since the beginning of filming Westerns, where they had the Native Americans on film, you never see them laughing. They laugh like anybody else, and they did things like with the children that they found interesting and liked, and he liked them. He said, "I like you," so he rubbed his head, so forth. I mean, I wanted to do things that audiences have never seen very much of, or if they've seen at all. So I had several choices to make as an actor and the character, where he responded with a smile or laughter. So I thought that would be given another dimension to the character that we don't see very often with Native Americans on the screen.
And did you bring that into the audition, or was that something you developed once you got the script?
I don't even think I had to audition.
You were working on everything back then, so Fess probably called you in.
And I had done previously. I did Apache Rifles. I did not do Winterhawk yet. I did Winterhawk in 1975, but in 1964 I did Apache Rifles. The first time I co-starred with Audie Murphy, and then the following year, William Whitney, director, wonderful director. I don't know if he directed any of the segments, Daniel Boone segments. Did he at all? Do you remember him? Wonderful director of Western genre.
That's a Ginger question.
Well, I know he did Bonanza. Actually, Andy Clyde's here. I bet he would know the answer to that. I know he did some Bonanzas, but I don't know.
He's a wonderful director, and he cast me in an entirely different role after I did Apache Rifles, playing Red Hawk, and went and played a bad guy, Brady in Arizona Raiders, entirely different character. But he had a lot of confidence in me, and he knew that I could play the heavy as well as the good guy, and so forth. So I really
And that's what I love about this, and what you brought to this character is, yeah, you're kidnapping me and taking me away, but you're showing a charm and a likeness.
Yeah, the human side of the character.
Yeah.
You know, it's easy to play the anger and play the bitterness and so forth, but the child didn't give me any reason to be controversial or say confrontational at all. So my reaction to him, because I did say I liked him, was I found him very amusing, and I liked his courage because he was trying to get away. That to me was, as far as the Native American is concerned, was a young boy showing manhood when he had the courage and to defy the white man or anyone who was trying to bring harm to him. So I admired his courage.
So as far as the Indian linguistics, like the lilt of how you spoke, was that written in the script that way, or was that they said this is, you need to sound like an Indian? Like back then, did they?
I always stated the story. I can improvise. I have so much. I had at that time so much experience that I could, and never deviate from the writer's intent or the director's final wish. So if I changed a word or two, or paused at a certain time to put emphasis on what I was saying and what I was communicating, then I took a little bit of license. But I wasn't one of those actors that put the script aside and started to improvise a little too much. I like staying with the story and with the writer and the director's wishes, and of course for the pleasure of other actors who learned their dialogue and learned when the cue for them to come in. So
it does help.
That helps, yeah. But it's fun when you can, and you're working with actors that you know and knew. I knew Patricia very well, and I didn't know Fess that well, but I knew him fairly well. And
now, how did you know Pat?
Pat I knew socially, and her husband, they were a nice couple, and it's just social events, and appearances here and there. Then at restaurants, we run into one another. The actors then in those days, of course, Darby was a little youngster to be socializing the time that we were. So I would say in the late 50s and the 60s and 70s, there was an awful lot of wonderful energy in Hollywood. Actors knew each other, they socialized, they dated one another. And at that time, I was on the 3 different studios. So I knew a lot of the actresses by doing what we used to do, layouts with magazines. In those days, you had Motion Picture Magazine, Photo Play magazines, and another 20 or 30 or 50 other magazines that were doing layouts and stories about actors, and particularly actors that were under contract. So I was under contract. I was always under contract first part of my career. We went from MGM to Warner Brothers to 20th Century Fox. So I was always doing layouts with a lot of the actresses, and got to know a lot of the my colleagues in the business personally and socially.
Just so you know, Michael,
yeah.
the 70s and 80s weren't too bad either in Hollywood.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There was a little bit of partying and socializing
Yeah.
and maybe dating in the 70s.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It was a very different period in show business at the time in Hollywood compared to today. Today,
Oh, please.
they're making so much money that the stars finish a movie, and they're on a plane the next day. They're in their limousine on a plane to some remote place where they have a home. It may be in Italy or Hawaii or Florida and so forth. Most of them have 2 or 3 residents. So, but we hung out together after we had a movie that socially we'd run into people and
Rockin' Bull, Nate Nels.
and we go to a ball game. I used to go to all the Dodger games and Angel games. So I spent a lot of time at the ballpark there. I knew Tommy Lasorda and Al Campanis, the general manager. So I had invitations to go every game of the year if I wanted to. And I went for 25 years and sat with Al Campanis, the general manager, when general manager in charge of player personnel. So he was a great friend of mine. I've been to his home and his son's weddings and so forth, and likewise with Tommy Lasorda. I had a birthday party for Tommy Lasorda in my home in Beverly Hills at one time, and had a lot of the ball players, a lot of the actors together. So there was a lot of things to do that we enjoyed doing, but there isn't that love and camaraderie after working together. You know, we became family. Like if I didn't see Darby for years, and when I saw him, he was a grown man. And when I saw Darby, I said, "Darby, you remember I saved your life?" He said, "Yeah, you were my favorite Indian." And here we are.
Don't tell the names.
Like I saw him 2 weeks ago. So that camaraderie and working together and the memories never leave.
No.
They're wonderful.
No, you know, you're thrown into such an interesting environment and under such pressure. Actually, you know, you try not to do the pressure, but you know, everything's so quick and you become a family forever, how long you're working. And then all of a sudden everybody scatters and goes in different directions, and you might not see them for years or decades. But like you say, there's always that connection. When you come here, it's one of the reasons I love doing the conventions, or even like the Hollywood opening last night at the museum. Somebody said last night at the museum, you know, this is like a high school reunion. And I didn't have really a high school reunion with school, but I do with the other actors and stuff that you get to see.
Yeah, well, recently I'll share this with you because it's a very sensitive story. I was asked to cut the ribbon in Apache Junction, and you were there, I know, on a couple of occasions in Arizona, Apache Junction, Darby. And I was asked to cut the ribbon for a new extension of their museum. And part of that extension was the movies that Audie and I co-starred with Audie in those 2 movies, and they were part of the extension, the new room. So they asked me to, if I would cut the ribbon for the event, and I did, of course. And it brought back a lot of fun and also sad memories. Now, in that barn where they added another room, that barn, we did a sequence. I did a sequence with Audie Murphy. Audie Murphy, and Buster Crabbe, Ben Cooper, and myself, the three of us, and we had a shootout that took place, and that barn is still there. And you sat in that barn signing autographs.
With Don Collier.
Right, with my dear friend, Don Collier, wonderful actor and a wonderful man. We miss him very much. And I looked up, but there was an awful lot of people, many people that came from all over there for the event. And I couldn't help but be in tears because all the actors in that sequence were gone.
Mm.
And I expressed myself as this was a family. When actors work together, they become a family. And when you become a family and you don't have any conflict and ego problems with egomaniacs, you become.
Wait. Are you saying there are egos in Hollywood? This is breaking news here.
I apologize.
Please, you'll disillusion people.
So
they'll think they have the right to walk up and just slap people if they don't like what they're saying.
Happy thoughts. Come on, Darby, we're going to avoid that.
I would tell them beforehand, not too hard.
That's true. You're talking to a cowboy world here.
It came to mind when I was sharing that we were a family, and when actors become quickly a family group when filming 6 to 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever it is, 1 week, whatever it may be. Well, the more you become a family, the better the work from relationships from each other. The feedback is wonderful. So it brought back the memories when we mentioned family. That came up in what I was sharing with everybody there, that we were a wonderful family. And I was sorry to say that I'm the only one left. They're all gone. So
Michael, I got a picture from the 70s documentary that When the West Was Fun. And Dan and I used to joke that, oh, look, you, me, and Johnny Crawford there, we're like the only ones still alive from this thing. And all of a sudden, both of them are gone now. And Dow was, it is sad. It is sad. A lot of good people.
Yeah. I know how close you were to Don, and you had a great relationship, both of you. And it was so sad. We heard of he having cancer. His days were limited, and you kind of live with each day hoping a miracle will happen. But
he was ready, though. He was ready. He'd tell me on the Darb, come on, I've had a great life. Let's go. Get this thing over with. Come on.
That's a good.
He was. If there's anybody out there that was ready, it was Don. So happy trails to him.
Boys like that. Hey, Darby, what are you doing? Come here.
Come on, Darby. Yeah. All right. Well, let's see what happens so that the young Israel still.
I want to know, Michael, is your hat from a specific show or movie, or where's your hat from?
Oh, do we have time to tell this story? I'll tell it briefly. When I was doing Custer, the series Custer, playing Crazy Horse for 20th Century Fox, the publicity department came to me and said, there's a hat store in New York City. Now we're filming and we're at 20th Century Fox in California. He said there's a hat store in New York City that's having a celebration for the Winchester rifle.
Okay.
I don't know, like 25 years or so. The rifle was being celebrated. And they had an association with the hats and a weekend of Winchester event with all of their hats in the store that could be worn in a Western genre.
Okay.
You know? So PR guy came to me and said, Michael, they want you to go. They're going to pay you transportation. You're staying at the Warwick Hotel, and they're going to give you a Winchester and all the hats you want if you sign the autographs. We're bringing a couple of 100 pictures of you as Crazy Horse, and here I am. It's on Fifth Avenue, this store. So I go to New York, and so there it is, a beautiful big picture of me in the window with a rifle and so forth. And I went in, and the people came into the store, and I signed autographs till my thumb hurt. And he said, now when the day was done, he said, how many hats would you like? I said, well, I didn't want to make a pig of myself. I like maybe, how about 3 hats? He said, oh, take as many as you want. I said, well, I'd like to have one for my dad that wears hats. And I'd like to have a Borsellino and a Western hat. And he said, you got it. So I picked out this hat. This is a genuine Stetson. Now, this hat today is worth about $1,500.
Oh my
It's
God.
a genuine Stetson. And I'm talking about in the 60s. Now, this hat, I've had this hat all those years. And
Did you get the rifle?
and the rifle.
Did you get the rifle? No, I mean, nice hat. Love the hat.
You had to bring that up. Now, I was also invited to San Francisco from New York to fly to San Francisco with the publicity assistant to ride in a parade. And that was a paying job too. So, but I had to catch a plane from New York to San Francisco, and it was very tight. I didn't have that much time to waste after I finished signing the autographs. We had to march off to the Kennedy Airport and fly to San Francisco. So I said, okay, I got the 3 hats, put them in a box, and I took those with me and so forth. And we were in such a hurry to catch the plane. We got in the cab, and just as we got to the airport, I said, wait a minute, where's the Winchester? He looked at me and said, oh, gee, hey, I was supposed to get a Winchester. It was a beautiful thing. God, it was
Oh, and back then you could have walked on the plane with it.
yeah,
You could have had it in your lap.
I could have won it. I could have even cranked it and shot down out the window. They wouldn't bother you in those days. So anyway, to this day, I can't wait to meet somebody from the Winchester Company, Rifle Company, to tell them about my story. And I want my Winchester. I never got it.
See, that's a good one. All right, Ginger, what do we got going here?
All right. So do you want to do a 15-minute and a 15-minute segment, or do you want to just run all the way to the end?
I think we should run it to the end here. Let's see what happens to Israel. In the hands,
Well, everybody
in the
keep an
hands
eye
of
out
this
for the
heathen.
Falling in the river. Michael saves Darby's life. So we have him.
I can't call him a heathen redskin, right? That's not, I
That's
can't
not
do that.
Correct. No.
No,
Unless you want to
okay.
get slapped.
You'll wind up in jail today.
We will be back in 30 minutes with our special guest, Michael Dante, and of course, your host and pal, Darby Hinton.
Where?
I know, who's a
Hi.
little bit more grown up now, 50 years later.
But not too much.
Not too much. He's still as cute as a button. Anyway, so here we go with the end of For a Few Rifles on our Daniel Boone episode. And we'll remember, keep posting your questions in the Q&A. We'll try to get to a few more of them at the end
And
of
I'm
the
still
show.
looking for that one rifle.
Yeah.
The two
In the
rifles.
meantime, if anybody has any contacts at Winchester, Michael still wants his rifle.
Tonight, you will sleep well.
But you said that would be real nice.
You think I forget about your father, huh?
A minute, I thought maybe you did.
No.
How come you built a fire? Last night you wouldn't.
Tonight, we are in my country. Last night, we were not.
That isn't gonna make any difference. Paul will probably see the smoke or smell it, and he'll be here before you know it.
I do not think so.
You just don't know my Pa.
I do not need to know him. If he is following us, then he is following on foot. He will be a day or more behind us. But I do not think he is following us. Come. You will stay here, huh?
Where are you going?
Through there is the sacred burial ground. I must ask permission of the guardian for you to enter.
You gonna be gone long?
Aha! You are afraid of a few old bones, my warrior.
No, I'm not.
Do not worry. I will only be gone a short time. I should have much pride today. Today I won a victory over the great Daniel Boone. Yes, a very fine victory. What is it? Have you found your tongue?
What do you mean you won a great victory over my paw?
A man is only as good as his sons. When I cause a man's son to walk with his eyes on the ground and his feet dragging, then I have defeated the man. Well, perhaps not.
Are you afraid?
It's only a cemetery.
But sacred to my people, huh? Since I cannot leave you alone, you must walk only in my footsteps and remain very quiet. Can you do that?
This ground is forbidden to strangers. You know this well, Akari.
It is the request of the great chief. He asked that I be permitted to keep his prisoner here for safekeeping.
For how long?
For 1 moon, old one. Then he will be returned to his father or sent to one of our villages.
He may stay. I will prepare food for you.
Nishka. Come. Sit down here. Soon there will be food. Nishka. You were told not to come here. Nishka! Who brought him here?
He came.
How?
I crawled.
If I leave you untied, will you try to run?
Guess you'd catch me if I did.
That is right.
Kari? Who's that boy?
Niska, the son of Wamaka,
You mean the chief?
the great chief.
Why does he crawl like that? Some kind of prayer or something?
He crawls because he cannot walk.
Oh. Was he born that way?
No. It happened 2 winters past. He was 14. His first battle at his father's side. He was hit by a white man's bullet.
Oh. What's he doing here?
He is praying for death. You think this terrible, huh? Well, what would you do if you had to live your life as a turtle?
I don't know, something. I just wouldn't sit in a cemetery. Why doesn't the chief do something?
In his own way, he is doing something. He is trying to get the white man's bullet into his own hands. It is because of Niska that you are here, Israel Boone. It is because of Niska that your father gathers rifles to bring to Omaka in 1 moon.
No appetite, Becky? Or is it the way Cincinnatus cooks?
Yes, it's just my appetite, Ben. I'm not very hungry right now.
Well, that's understandable. But you gotta eat something. Yeah. Listen, if that stew doesn't suit your fancy, I'll go in and cook something up myself.
No, this is fine. Please, you don't have to make such a fuss over me.
Listen, Daniel told you to stay here, didn't he?
Yes.
Well, then somebody's got to look out after you. It ain't gonna do Israel no good if you're sick when he comes home. Well,
Mrs. Boone. Has there been any word?
No, nothing.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, but it's much too soon for Dan to return, even if he's found Israel.
I come to tell you we'll be leaving soon. Just about hitched up and ready.
Good luck, Mr. Burns. I know you're gonna like that country this south. I know you won't be sorry it turned out this way.
No, but I am sorry, Mrs. Boone. I can barely find the words to tell you how sorry. You see, I realize now it was my stubbornness that brought you all this trouble and anguish. If anything happens to your son or to your husband, I'll never be able to forgive myself.
Nothing is going to happen to them. I'm sure Dan's found Israel already.
God bless you.
Is he gonna stay there all night?
He might. He is waiting for the spirit of death. Perhaps it would be best if it came.
Don't you even feel sorry for him, Akari?
He is my brother.
I mean, you're Chief Omaka's son, too? Why can't you talk to Niska? Try to cheer him up somehow.
I have talked and talked until my tongue threatened to fall from my mouth. But words cannot give him a way to walk upright. seem to have lost my knife.
Oh, borrowed it. I hope you don't mind.
It might have been better if you had asked.
You were sleeping so hard. I hated to wake you up.
What are you doing?
Making some crutches?
Somewhat?
Crutches. I saw my pa make them once for a friend who had a broken leg.
I see. Tell me something, Israel. Is there anything your pa cannot do?
I don't know. I don't think he can play the fiddle.
But you are not sure.
No, can't exactly say I'm sure.
And, what will you do with these crutches?
They're for him, Niska.
What are you doing?
I just want to measure these. You don't suppose you could scooch this way a little bit? I'm not supposed to go in there.
Go away.
I just wanted to... I got the general idea. A little bit too long. You don't suppose I could borrow your knife again, do you? Finished. Here.
Not good, huh?
I'm a little too short. You're a little too long. Wait a minute. How's this?
Good. Nishka. Well? Try. Try.
Here, I made these for you.
You made these for me.
No, I didn't.
A man with yellow hair. Your brother? It is the same thing.
No. Let them burn.
Now I will try myself. Are you a woman?
Less than a woman. A turtle.
No, you're not. You're just not swinging yourself right. Here, let me show you. See? You see?
It is good. Huh?
I would like to show our father.
You will be very pleased. But you will not see our father until he returns with the rifle.
But
You remember the council meeting? The talk of rifles? Every white man, woman, and child must die. You remember? Without exception.
I remember.
But now you would like to make an exception. Huh? Maybe 2 or 3. Maybe there are more like this small one.
Akari,
Yes, my brother.
what is the answer?
I do not know. Perhaps there is none.
And the rifles?
The rifles will make death. That is what they are for.
Akari,
Yes, my brother.
perhaps if we would...
We obey our father, Nishka. He is the great chief.
Oh, have to find another piece. Wait a minute.
I told you to forget about your father. Get rid of Daniel Boone as fast as you can, old man. Nishka, wait a few moments after he is gone. Then follow him to be sure he really goes. Then come back and tell me.
On these?
Yes, on those.
I think he has come.
Yes.
Perhaps I will tell him where he will find his son.
Perhaps the council and your father will put you to death for such treason.
You forget, old man, I came here to pray for death.
But no longer.
Yes, no longer.
Look, there. Who are you, white man?
I'm called Boone.
Why do you come to this sacred burial ground?
I mean no disrespect, old man. I'm looking for my son.
There is no white man here, as you can see. Just myself and this young brave.
My son is still a child, not a man. With yellow hair. Have you seen him?
Go and look inside if you wish. There is no one here.
You know a brave called Akari?
No, I do not know him. Perhaps you'll stay and share our food. It is better than nothing.
I thank you, but I have no time.
I know a brave called Akari.
How do they call you?
Niska, the brother of Akari.
Do you know where he is?
This one has not seen anyone in many moons. He has been here with me.
I have not seen my brother for many moons.
Where'd you get the crutches?
He made them.
Yes, I made them.
You were almost a great fool.
I was almost a turtle too, old man. Here, help me up.
Where are you going?
To make sure he has gone as Akari asked.
You know where my boy is, don't you?
Akari is gone.
You brought him here.
He followed me.
You brought him here.
I brought him here. What will you tell our father?
I will tell him the truth.
Then I will die.
No. I will tell him we traded Israel Boone for something more important than rifles.
Think you got the hang of it?
Yes. Israel, you ready?
Yes, Pa?
We got a long way to travel.
Think you got the hang of it now?
Yes.
Those two could be great friends.
If we let him.
I will speak to my father.
Be nice if he'd listen.
Yes. Yes, it would.
Israel.
happened to the good looks? God, you were cuter than a bug's ear.
You were quite dashing yourself, sir.
I don't know.
Running around in your loincloth.
No, it was fun. It was a good show. Very good show. I had an awful lot of wonderful things that we hope today that they can communicate and find a way to for all of us to get along and not be so split and so far apart.
You know, I do love the fact that, you know, through our producer, Barney Rosenzweig and Fess and everything, that they really did make the inclusiveness, stories like this that, you know, didn't hit you over the head with it. But like you said, it was like, wow, maybe we all could get along.
Well, it had a lot of meaning to it. It just wasn't a run-of-the-mill Native American TV show. It had a lot of substance and a lot of human emotions that were shared. That I hope we could all share that today.
And, you know, I guess I do see why the school teachers kind of got mad at Israel for his hair. It was longer than the Beatles back then. And well, first of all, the teachers cleaned up my language, because by this season there were no more ain'ts and I don't need no, and the bad grammar was gone, because I guess kids like talking like Israel. But then they started getting on me about my hair. You know, kids are going to think it's okay to wear long hair like that.
Well, you were certainly a good actor, very good actor, and so cute. So you, it doesn't surprise me you have still have a fan following and fantasizing and relating to all those wonderful years you entertained the American audience. That's a wonderful thing about what we do. Really, it's something that I cherish, because we reach so many people, Darb, that you, as long as you live and as I live and long after we're gone, we're going to be on film, and people that youngsters, fathers and siblings that follow and so forth, that have seen Daniel Boone and the like, will remember that wonderful, talented, blonde-haired kid that was so good on Daniel Boone. And you and Fess worked so well together. It was really nice. It was a joy to work the show.
Well, as you brought up earlier, it definitely became a family thing. So, yeah, it was great on the set.
Yeah, that's what made the series, a lot of the series that we all enjoyed watching, like Bonanza and all those family oriented television series, that they were really built around family values and love and all of the and heroic rescues and coming to their rescue when needed, and having a good background and love for one another and for neighbors.
And a good guy. You could have a good guy. It seems today everybody has to have some major flaw. You know, they're good, but and you know,
well, the anti-hero came into the world, you know, and that would change a lot of things, because it's a little difficult today to see and to find out who's the good guy and the bad guy. You know, with them, it's a shame that our youngsters don't have the heroes that we all admired when we were growing up. We all had more than one hero, and we wanted to emulate those heroes and be like them. But that's not the case today. It's just a whole different world.
the cowboy code of honor, the Roy Rogers, the Audrey, they all had their codes. This is, yes, I know well, we try. That's all you can do is try to bring some back and show it.
And I love what you're doing and doing a great job. I didn't know you were doing this show, and Jen, you're a great combination, producer and host, to share with the American audience to keep the Western alive. See, I think the young people, they're playing with their toys a little bit too much, and they're not really talking with one another. They're speaking with, all kinds of machinations that I'm sure are getting better and better in their world than what we had going for us was talking with one another and expressing ourselves, how we feel and so forth. I don't think the young people are talking with one another and sharing with another their feelings like we did in our day.
Well, and the sad part is because, that's what I studied. And I didn't study theater or anything because that's what I did. So through college and everything, I studied communications and from a young actor, you learn about words and communicating. And then, of course, I got to spend, 9 great years with Tony Robbins, which I think he's a master communicator. And, I got a lot of pushback when a certain slap happened at a certain event that we won't talk about, Ginger. But I said that words have no meaning except for the meaning you give it. Everybody takes such offense now. And the sad thing is that, like you said, they're getting a lot of their words just on the screen. And if you look at the studies, only 7% of what is communicated is the actual word that you use. Like you said, when you talk to somebody one-on-one, it's the tonality, it's the expression on the face, it's the volume you use. It's only 7% is the word. But now everybody's communicating with just the written word. And, you can't know if it's a joke. Since I keep everything on the positive and stuff. And I had a great acting teacher once, Howard Fine it was, that gave out a script of just 2 pages of just very benign dialogue. Hi, how are you? I haven't seen you. And he gave it to all the different actors, and you had to pair up and come back with a scene just of those words. And if you came back with 15 actors, 7 different scenes, some would be highly dramatic, some would be romantic, some would be comical, and they were all the exact same words. Yes. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yes, I remember in school that we had an exercise like that. And the exercise began with the first student. There were usually 30 in our class. And the first student, the teacher would say, okay, now I want you to say this line. And I want every student afterwards to interpret and to say the same thing that person in front said. And it went something like this. It was a beautiful day and we all had a great time on our way to the movie. By the time it got to the 30th student, it was an entirely different subject matter.
Yeah.
It was so different. And everybody's interpretation and their feelings, exactly what you're talking about, was different. Yeah. And that's the art of expression. Like I said in the beginning, when we opened the show, I chose to lead a life of creation and invention. America was built on creation and invention. Each generation, given the gift of life, first of all, the young people have to understand that life is such a miracle. It's a gift. It's a gift, Darby.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Oh, God, if they only knew what it means, really, to someone that is sensitive and cares about humanity and all of us sharing what the Lord gave you. So if He has given you a talent, He gave me many talents. My God, I reached the big leagues although briefly, and with the Washington Senators as a ball player. I had my own radio show for 12 years. I was under contract to 3 major studios: MGM, Warner Brothers, 20th Century Fox. I've written 5 books, and I'm writing my 6th book as we speak. And so the American dream was there, beginning with heroes like Daniel Boone when we started, and youngsters wanting to be like Darby Hinton and be the son of our hero Daniel Boone, and living with his positive images. We used to love school teachers. We loved policemen. We loved firemen. We all wanted to be a fireman. We all wanted to be a policeman, and respected our second parents were teachers. So I think that for me, I was so fortunate in that period of time to realize that I was given a gift, a talent that I took advantage of and developed and beginning to not only interpret what I had learned and what was asked of me by the writer and the director, but it opened the door to me to go further, to invent and to create, which if you asked me, you said to me, Michael, 5 years ago, you would have written 5 books. You're going to write 5 books in 5 years. Darby, you're out of your mind. You got to be kidding me. No way. But during that period of time of thinking,
lockdown, yeah,
testing, working, and then going forward, thinking, okay, now I can expand beyond my acting gift. And sure, I could write. Okay, I could write. Then I could invent stories and ideas and create and share that and leave that behind with our younger generation. That's what makes America great, and made America great when they created and invented. Now they're going, I'm sorry to say, a little bit backward, not ahead.
And I want to make sure before we sign off here, because I've kept you a long time and I appreciate it. I've had such great time with you. But if somebody wants to check out all your books and see how to order them and stuff, where do they go to do that?
Yeah, here's my autobiography, which I won the Cherry Blossom Award in Marshfield, Missouri.
Nice.
In 2018. Yeah, I'm proud of that. And that was my first book, Darby. It's 366 pages with approximately 100 pictures with all the wonderful anecdotes to accompany it. It's not something you put in your back pocket. Michael Dante Way, one word, Michael Dante Way. Here's my second book I wrote, which is a sequel to Winterhawk, called Winterhawk's Land. I go after the railroad people that took 10 miles on each side of the track. The true story part of the book is very, very, it's a beautiful romantic piece where if you saw the first one, the white girl comes off with me in the end and we have a child and so forth. You got to go to my website to get all that information. That's the second book. The third book is Sixth Road Home. Now, Sixth Road Home, I was so inspired to write Sixth Road Home because it represents all the wars men and women had fought since the beginning of man. Now, if they survived the war, they came home to what? they all had the same fears, the same doubts, and their insecurities, not knowing their loved ones are going to be there. In this case, these are 6 horse soldiers that muster out in the Civil War and survived the 4 years without hardly any communication. So now they're going home to what? Well, I was inspired to ride that because of Iraq and Afghanistan. The young Americans, men and women coming home, experience those same emotions. The only thing that changes is the names and places.
Yeah.
So that is a powerful yarn, very, very strong. Nobody rides off in the sunset in 6 Road Home. And the 4th one is my radio show. In this, my classic radio interviews with the stars, I did over 250 radio shows with the top stars in the world. I have everyone on the show that you and I loved over the years, and from Milton Berle, Tony Curtis, Buddy Hackett, Jerry Vale, Tommy Lasorda, Harmon Killebrew, Rod Laver. Of these 250 plus shows, we have.
I'm so glad you captured all that. That's wonderful. And I've certainly kept you longer than an hour. And Ginger, I know it's getting past your bedtime on the East Coast there.
Oh no, don't blame this on me, Darby. You didn't even get to ask any questions because.
Oh, did we didn't do much from the Q&A. Do we have some?
Oh, we had a couple comments. Your sister Darren was on here. She said hello from Mexico way back when.
There we go.
Michael came to our child help events in the desert. So I guess when she lived in Palm.
Yeah, Darren was working with child help with the Cheryl lad and everything. And I think you came to the golf tournament.
Yeah.
Out in the Springs.
Yeah. I had my own tournament for 8 years and raised a lot of money in the desert.
Oh my
and I want to congratulate you both. Darby, you're doing something wonderful and doing such a great job, and you work so well together. And I want to wish you all the beautiful things in the world that you wish for yourselves.
Oh.
God bless you, and God bless America.
God bless you, Michael. And I
Very
thank
nice
you.
to meet you, Michael.
You look wonderful. It's great days. Maybe we'll go out canoeing together sometime soon.
Make sure the water's warm though, so y'all don't. Michael might not be able to rescue you anymore, Darby. You're a little bit bigger.
Yeah, he's not going to drag me down.
You're on your own now. You're on your
He
own.
might grab you by that big old honk of hair you have and just.
Really, Michael, thank you. This has been a blast. Can't wait to see you on the road and when we're back in person.
Thank you so much.
Oh, I have one last question for Michael. So do you have a baseball card since you played for the Boston Braves for 5 years?
I didn't get to play in the regular season. I only had the great privilege of going to spring training with the Washington Senators. And I decided to take a 2 weeks leave of absence to take advantage.
That was all they wrote. You became a big star and that was the end of that.
Hollywood with that.
And here we are. Well, we're glad you took that path. As Robert Frost said, you're road less traveled and you took the left instead of the right. Huh?
And you don't have, like, Kurt Russell still has that, oh, I wish I'd done the baseball. But
Yeah,
I think you made the good choice with the acting.
Yeah, his father, I think, was a general manager and owner of a ball club, and he was a second baseman. And I know he loved baseball.
So, Michael, you're not retired from acting then. You're still going strong, huh?
I'm so busy writing, but if someone comes along and offers me a job that I would like to do, no more Indians, no more. Leave that to the Native Americans, Darby. I'll stick with my cowboy. All the wonderful characters I played, playing the good guy and the bad guy. I was very fortunate that I was able to make a good living playing the bad guy as well as the good guy. So a lot of actors could only play the heavies or only be the good guy. I was fortunate that it kept me alive and being able to pay the bills and pay the rent. So I being able to play the bad guy and the hero. So I was very fortunate.
So did you have a favorite movie role? What was your favorite movie role?
I have to go along with Winterhawk. Winterhawk, maybe 1% of, maybe 1.5 of 1%, or half of 1% of the actors had the good fortune and the opportunity, the good luck opportunity to play a title role. So I had the good fortune and the opportunity to play Winterhawk and to play a leader of a nation. So when I made a marriage with the character, what I did was meld his feelings and his love for humanity and life, and by eliminating ego, so that every decision he made, he related to the elements: the sky, the sun, the moon, the wind, water, the wildlife. Not made a decision strictly on ego, but making that decision, all those decisions for his people based on a greater essence than ego.
You know, and just since you brought up Mom earlier and said, you know, I got to say, through her charity organization like Anten's, she went out to the reservations, you know, that we have here between, you know, you and me in Palm Springs and stuff. And she went out and got young kids and would bring them into like the Huntington Hartford Theater. And she started talking to a lot of her theater friends, and they would like fill up the balcony and stuff so these kids could actually see live plays and because they'd never seen it before, you know, they'd only seen like television. So she started exposing to it and really started to try to push for them to become actors too in it. So like I said, just since you brought her up, I gotta toot Mom's horn because she was ahead of her time in trying to do that and organize that. She would bring them in by the busload. They would come in and then she'd get them all lunch, and we had fun together.
Well, that's why, no question about it. And from what I see, Darb, the abundance of actors of all colors, of all backgrounds coming into our business, and seeing some wonderful, talented actors and actresses doing such wonderful work. So when I started, I think there was 7,000 actors in the union, in Screen Actors Guild. It then jumped up to 17,000. Oh my God! We all thought that was a leaping direction, you know, for a lot of actors. But today it's only a drop in the bucket.
You and I both had our SAG numbers, because I had mine since back then in the, you know, late 50s, 60s, with a very small number. And then just recently, when AFTRA and SAG got together, they gave me a whole new number that's, you know, now about this long, where before it was.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate to be a member of the union over 60 years.
Yeah.
And beginning in 1955. So you do the math, and you can see that I've been around a few years.
You've been doing it a couple more years than I have. We'll say that, and I don't usually come across that. So
we've come a long way. The union and the merge of AFTRA and SAG. And
Ginger, you've been wonderful as always. I appreciate. Thank you.
Well, I've really enjoyed it. Michael, you were terrific. I'm sure you could probably tell us a ton more stories, but we don't want to keep you up all night.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
Darby, I'm glad you're feeling better and you can get back to normal in your life.
Whatever that is.
You know.
I said we're going to end on a happy note. Love you guys. Talk to you later.
God bless.
Hey, Michael, thank you so much. And good night, Darby. Good night, everybody. Thanks for being here. And
stay well.